topic is, we all hope everybody's safe, their homes are safe, they don't ever have to use insurance, right? But it's something that should provide peace of mind in that unlikely event if something happens that you're going to be protected. But, how do we prepare for that? We don't want any of this to happen, but how do we make sure that we're in good shape should it happen?
Great question. You definitely want to have those conversations before the need arises. We had the Quarry Fire kind of come through relatively close to our area recently, and you kind of saw everybody on social media talking about, make sure you're videoing your contents. Hopefully that's not the time that you think to do that in the midst of an impending fire that's, moving across our community. I always encourage folks to do just exactly that, bullet point notes, take a video of all of your stuff. Most carriers won't ask you to prove what you had, but they will ask you to document it so that you can be paid back for that, and then, get replacement costs when it's replaced. And the easiest way nowadays is obviously with our phones. Just go through cabinets, go through closets, remind yourself, I've got 25 pair of shoes and 15 pair of pants. It makes that process a lot easier. Coming out of the Marshall Fire, we learned lots and lots and lots of things. And for many folks, that was the most daunting piece for folks was, kind of going through that catastrophic event, which was an emotional whirlwind, and then forcing your brain to try to remember how many forks you had. And so if you can help yourself forward with having some sort of documentation of everything in your house, that is obviously ideal. Most personal property coverage would be included in that. I do want to highlight that often companies have a specialty policy called a personal articles policy for things that may be of higher value. If you have fine art, if you have expensive jewelry, if you have fancy cameras, things like that. So appropriately insuring and appropriately documenting kind of what you have. I did want to point out, there was conversation referencing the Department of Insurance website. So I did want to highlight that resource exists, and there's something on there that I think can be informational to folks, and it's called a toolkit for homeowners and a toolkit for homeowners on insurance. And so by going to that doi.colorado.gov, there's a little tab on there, and it does a really good job about kind of serving as a resource for folks from a perspective of, it coming from the Department of Insurance on things that homeowners can do to best prepare themselves for the unexpected and things like that. So I think that's a valuable resource kind of to highlight.
The other thing, Jen, she mentioned it a little bit. Most insurance companies have a cap on specialty items like jewelry or art and stuff like that. So meaning that if you have 3 art pieces that are $10,000, but the cap for a loss for that insurance company is $2,500, you're only going to get $2,500 unless they are scheduled or they have their own policy. So if you jewelry, anything collectible really, or anything of value that you have, you want to double check with your insurance company to see if there is a cap per piece or per loss, and make sure that you have that coverage, whether you schedule it out or you have a separate policy for it.
Absolutely. And, I love the idea about taking the video. I admittedly, during the Quarry Fire, while my husband's fighting a fire, had needed something to do. And so I went around the house and I was videoing everything. And I do have to say it is a good tool because now it lives on the cloud. And it is a little sobering because it puts things in perspective. You open up that drawer and you're like, okay, here's my 4 Pyrex bowls, and then here's my 8 pairs of socks, and here's my 6 pairs of shoes. And when you put it all in perspective, you as the homeowner are the most important thing in the house, right? All that stuff can be replaced. But if you have to go through that process, you're already going through this catastrophic loss. You don't want to have to now remember how many Pyrex bowls did I have and how many, pairs of socks. You've got it all documented in a video that goes through everything. And the other thing I think as far as talking about preparing for the unexpected, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention going to the Rotary Wildfire Ready website, which is a great resource for our community. We do have on that website some checklists for emergencies, right? And how to organize your stuff if you have to get out. And based on the amount of time that you have, is it immediate Or do you feel like you've got a couple hours based on emergency notifications that are available in the area? So using that as a tool, I've got a couple of them posted around the house. So if different family members are gathering things, we can reference that list. You know, keep all your really priceless items like photo albums in one particular area. It's a little easier to throw them in the car if you need to, and use that as a tool. And then of course, make sure you're signed up for Lookout Alerts. That is the emergency notification system that we do have here in Jefferson County. So again, the homeowner, you are the most valuable person in that house. You're the most valuable thing. So make sure you're getting out immediately and following those emergency services guidelines for evacuation, whatever the circumstances are. So you cannot be replaced.